All right, so let's try this thing again. Family, how's everybody doing, man? This is your boy Harrison bringing you another episode of the Melanated Convo podcast. I just started my stream and everything got messed up, so I had to start it over. So let's do this thing again. This is Harrison. It's the Melanated Convo podcast, my show. On this show, we do a few things. We talk about black businesses. We talk about different news stories going on in the melanated community, in the black community, whatever you want to call us. I choose to use the term melanated. We talk about news stories. In every episode, we have a particular topic that we touch on as well. Today, we are going to talk about the deadly consequences of hip hop music, looking at the King Von murder, looking at the Mo3 murder. I'm going to get into a little bit of the details about what happened to those brothers, but that will be the topic for the day. But of course, like I said, we're going to have news stories. We're going to do our Black Business Spotlight. If this is your first time listening to the show, please do me a favor and subscribe. Subscribe to my YouTube channel, which is Melanated Fathers TV on YouTube. If you're watching the show on Facebook, don't forget to like this. Don't forget to like the video. Don't forget to share the video. Don't forget to comment. Let's do whatever we can to make my platform as big as I possibly can, just so I can have the biggest impact in my community. So let's get everything going, family. First thing we're going to touch on are the black businesses. So the first black business that I got for y'all today. And like I said, it's important that we circulate our money through our community several times before the money actually leaves our community. We need to understand that in order for our community to be thriving, in order for our community to be successful internally, we're gonna have to do something about how we spend money, y'all. We spend billions of dollars a year, most of that outside of our community. So we need to figure out a way to circumvent them funds, bring them back to the hood, bring them back to our neighborhoods, so we can begin to build up our neighborhoods and things to that manner. Keeping in mind, I understand the systematic issues that have put us in the situation we're in now, but even with that being the case, it's important that we figure out a way to value our money, right? Value our money, value generational wealth, value things that are necessary for us to move forward, opposed to Jordans and materialistic shit that don't mean nothing after you buy it. You feel me? So let's talk about the first company for the Black Business Spotlight today, family. I'm excited about the show, man. So let's get it going, family. So look, the first company, again, you know, when it comes to shades or glasses, a lot of us wear glasses in our community, some for prescription reasons, some just to look cool. I know I have a couple shades myself. So, you know, this is a product that a lot of people buy in our community. But check it out, right? I found a company called shades-shades.com. That's shades-shades.com. And they consider themselves to be the pioneer leading the nude eyewear industry. If you're not familiar with what nude eyewear is just glasses that match the color of your skin, right? So they go on to say that they're breaking all the rules and celebrating diversity in the forefront. The brand was developed out of frustration with the lack of full representation of the shade of nude within the fashion eyewear industry. Now, nude shades are more than one or two shades of tan or pink. They expand across diversity lines. So if you got dark skin, you got skin my complexion, they got glasses that match your skin tone, right? Now, their 14 completion, well, I'm sorry, yeah, their 14 completion eyewear palette is hand selected and crafted with real skin complexion in mind. So this is important, family. If we're gonna buy glasses, if we're gonna put shades on our face, let's try again to support people who look like us. And you can find the shades at shades-shades.com. The glasses range from $230 to $395. So a little pricey, but looking at all the pictures I've seen, looking at how the website is put together, it looks to be quality products. The glasses are like made in Italy, so they did a really good job of putting together the products. And we spend this type of money with other brand names. If we know Gucci selling some glasses or Dior selling some glasses, we're gonna buy them motherfuckers for that price. So let's put that same type of money and energy into our community, family. So again, go to shades-shades.com. Get yourself a new pair of glasses. Again, they are between $230 and $400, but we got the money. Shit, there's as much money as we spend on different things in our community, we definitely got the money to spend on that. You feel me? So that's shades-shades.com. Go there today, get you a pair of new glasses. Now, for the next business, on my show and just in my life, I speak a lot about being on code, meaning black people having a code of conduct, a way in which we treat each other, a way in which we talk to each other, a way in which we conduct ourselves when we're around each other and when we're around company. You feel what I'm saying? So this clothing line, I'm happy to present you with this clothing line called On Code Clothing, right? Now, On Code Clothing Company is a brand centered around the aspirations of a like-minded community, like a uniform allowing one to recognize others that are on the same code of conduct and mindset of black economic empowerment. You feel me? So the company is all about empowering our people, and they do this through different shirts that they have with empowering black slogans on the shirts. They have a HBCU collection. For anybody who graduated from a HBCU, they have several shirts and different type of apparel for those who have graduated from HBCUs, or just somebody who want to rock a Clark Atlanta University sweater, or Grambling State or something like that. We can all do that just to represent the fact that some of these black colleges are turning out really great professionals. They're turning out individuals who are in our community doing the right thing. So I got nothing against HBCUs on that note. You feel me? You can get shirts, hats, sweaters, jackets. There are face masks on the website because of everything going on with COVID-19. There's a section for women. Well, of course, you can get shirts, sweaters. There's leggings, things of that nature. There's a hashtag 2020 collection, which basically are shirts that address what's going on this year. Meaning, with the politics, we see that neither politician, neither presidential candidate didn't necessarily have a black agenda. So there are shirts that address that there's no black agenda. There are shirts that address the fact that the benign neglect policy is kind of still in place, which is a policy that basically said, you don't have to do shit for black people, basically, because they figured back in the day that a part of the reason why we were rioting and doing different things to upset the status quo was because we were being promised things. So they said, fuck it. We just ain't gonna promise you nothing no more. That would be the benign neglect policy. So again, go to oncodeclothing.com. That's oncodeclothing.com. Represent your people, man. These are shirts with inspiring information on it, things that represent empowering your people. So it's a great way to get clothing that represents who you are, but also support a black business in the interim. And like I said, we always want to make sure that we are supporting black businesses that are qualified. Not just because you're black and you sell clothes or you sell products, but it's because you're black and you sell these products that I can actually benefit from, and it's a high quality. It'll be the same quality I can get if I went across the street to shop with an Asian or shop with a white company or whatever the case may be. We want to make sure that we're not just shopping with black businesses, but we're shopping with qualified black businesses. You feel me? So let's get everything going, family. That is the two businesses for the day. So again, that's oncodeclothing.com, oncodeclothing.com. Check them out. Go to the website, order something. And for both of these businesses, like I always say, if you order something, be sure to talk about it. Be sure to use your social media to spread love, to spread empowerment. A lot of times, as black folks, when we do shop with a black business, we have such high expectations that when shit don't go right, we get to talking bad about them. We get to spreading negative shit about them. When in actuality, you can reach out to them to see if they can rectify whatever the problem you may have had with them. You feel me? So let's treat them the same way we treat Walmart or any other grocery store or convenience store in your area that ain't ran by people who look like us, who do a great job shitting on us whenever they want to, and we go right back to that goddamn store. So let's treat black businesses the same way. You feel me? So go to uncodeclothing.com, go to shades-shades.com today, get you some glasses, then go to oncode.com, oncodeclothing.com, and get you some gear. You feel me? So let's talk about the news stories, family. I'm excited, man. Let's get everything going. Now, this news story happened a while ago, but I wanted to make sure I get all the facts. I'm going to take my time with this one, and forgive me, you guys, because I'm going to read an article I found on theroot.com, by the way. An article I found, and then you can find the same information on my website, which is melanatedfathers.com, a variation of that article. But it's important that I read this to you guys because this is a really eerie situation, and we need to be aware of what's going on in our community. And this is about the young brother Kawan Charles. If you guys haven't heard, right, a young brother named Kawan Charles was found dead in the Louisiana area. He's a 15-year-old kid. The circumstances surrounding his death is really fishy. So bear with me, family, while I read you this article so we can kind of help each other get to the bottom of what you guys think may have happened, right? So around 3 p.m. on October 30th, Roxanne Nelson, which is Kawan Charles's mother, Roxanne Nelson called her son Kawan and received no answer. Kawan had recently moved in with his father in Baldwin, Louisiana, a tiny town of about 2,500, roughly 39 miles from Roxanne's home in Youngsville, Louisiana. Now, Roxanne was perplexed because Kawan couldn't stop talking about, growing his hair, and he asked his mother to go get him a lineup. So she was calling him at his pop's house so she can go get his hair lined up, right? So she was, she wasn't worried yet, but she was like, why isn't he answering his phone? Now, when she reached out to Kawan's father, Kenneth Jacob, I think his name is, I may be getting that wrong, but Kenneth checked the door to his son's bedroom when he knocked. When he knocked on the door, he didn't get an answer. But, they figured this is how teenagers are. He's probably asleep. He's probably on his headphones, probably playing the game, something like that, right? Now, Kenny was sure Kawan would reply soon because he wanted that haircut. Now, when his mom called again, nothing happened. After a little convincing, she convinced Kenneth to go to the door. But the door was locked from the inside, right? The door was locked by the inside. By this time, Kenny managed to open the door, and he was ready to go at him because he's like, dude, you in here, you 15, you in here, the door locked, your mom been calling you, I've been coming to the door, right? But there was one problem when they got to the door. When he finally got in the room, Kawan wasn't there. Now, and I'm reading this article because the details of this case are important to know. So follow me. Now, Roxanne, after seeing that the father went to the door, no answer, he finally pried his way into the room, and seeing Kawan wasn't there, Roxanne rushed to Baldwin, the city that the father lived in. On her way to Kenny's house, she flagged down a Baldwin police officer and told them that their teenager had gone missing. And the officers, and this is an important part of the story, the officers kind of brushed her off. They kind of hit her with, maybe he at his friend's house, maybe he at the mall, don't worry about it, right? And the family, all these details are important because the family isn't sure why they were treated the way they were treated. When we're black in America, of course you don't want to say race plays a large part in everything, but race plays a large part in everything. You know what I mean? So you can never take that off the table, that racism or just bias or prejudice, whatever, could be at play. So let me continue. Now, so like I said, they brushed her off, told her that he's probably at his friend's house. They didn't take it as serious, right? Now, she continued to tell law enforcement that something was wrong, but according to her, they just kept on giving her, like she said, a collective indifference is how she put it, right? Now, after 3 days of searching, so October 30th is when this initially happened, is when he initially came up missing. After 3 days of searching, one of Kawan's friends mentioned that he last saw the teenager in a car with a white lady and her teenage son. See how this is unraveling? A white lady and her teenage son. Now, they passed this information along to the police department, who at this point was beginning to take the young man's disappearance a little bit more serious, right? Now, the mother of the teenager, which is a white lady, her name is, hold on one second here. Her name is Janet Irving. She's a 37-year-old white lady. Her son, Gavin, is 17-year-old. He's a 17-year-old teenager. So follow me here. So the mother, which is Janet Irving, okay, the mother of the teenager, she admitted that she picked Kawan up to go hang out with her son, but after that, she doesn't know what happened. According to investigators hired by the family, neither Kawan's mom or dad had ever even met the 17-year-old white kid that he actually left with, right? Now, when speaking about Janet Irving and what her demeanor was when she was approached by where the kid is, she was very coy. And this is what the mom is saying. She's very coy regards to what happened with her son after they picked him up. But just, to be fair, the young man didn't tell his father he was leaving neither, right? Now, on November 3rd, police informed the family that they had found Kawan's body in a creek near a wooded area in Baldwin. The family says authorities told them that Kawan had drowned, but and as you can go on you can go on my website, melanatedfathers.com, and look at the article about this, and you'll see the picture. It's a really gruesome picture that looks as if, in their showing this picture alongside Emmett Till's picture, because honestly, y'all, it kind of looks similar. So Kawan's body, where his mouth is, and again, if you want to see the picture, if you want to really, you can go to my website, melanatedfathers.com, or it's probably all over the internet as well, but definitely go to my website to see it, you feel me? But right here on his face where his lips are, it looks like something had bit off something on his lips, right? So follow me. Now, this is another important part of the process, right? Now, the family shared with the Root, which is where I got the article from, the family shared with the Root a recording of an anonymous woman who called Roxanne Nelson, who was Kawan's mom, with information about the mother who allegedly picked up Kawan. And she basically said that the woman who picked him up may have more information that she's leading on, right? Now, the caller claimed that she randomly confronted her son about his unusual behavior, and he revealed that something had been eating him up. Allegedly, and this is allegedly, the white family who picked up Kawan may have been high on mushrooms, and the son reported that the car curiously smelled like bleach. In any case, the son reportedly admitted to being introduced to Kawan on the day he went missing. So think about this, right? This is a young black boy who went out of his house. He didn't tell his mom or his dad. His door was locked from the inside, which means he must have went out the window, and he's leaving with a white boy he just met that same day. Some weird shit, right? That part in itself isn't necessarily adding up. Now, the Baldwin Police Department had passed the case along to the Iberia Parish Sheriff's Department, neither of which answered the Root's request for comment. To be fair, they also haven't answered most of the Charles family's questions either, right? So, for instance, and again, what I'm saying about this article, well, here, let me finish first. For instance, when Selena contacted the media to let them know that they were holding a community vigil for the missing child, the local news didn't even know there was a missing child, right? So it almost seems as if the police departments involved with this case are dragging their feet. And again, this can be a case where this is how they conduct themselves in any situation like this, or it can be a case that this is a young black boy, and we know from everything we've been going through this past year, everything we've been going through since we've been in this country, in a lot of situations, our lives isn't taken as serious as other races of people, and that's a goddamn fact. You feel me? So the important part. Hold on one second here. Okay, and as of right now, I'm not even sure if the police has questioned Janet Irvin, who was the white lady. Now, some articles I've read mention how the lady, Janet Irvin, she lived in a trailer park, maybe like 35, 39 miles away from where the boy lived. There's video of Kawan walking around the sugar field. There's a sugar cane field where he was located. That's like next to the creek that he was found in. So it looks like he left their trailer by himself. This is what the video is saying, that he left their trailer by himself, and hours later he ended up dead, right? In a creek. They say he drowned in a creek, but the creek is like knee-high water, if not lower than that, right? So this is fishy shit, y'all. And here's the thing. So I'm done reading the article. The unfortunate end result of this situation is a 15-year-old boy is dead. The parents don't know why completely. The powers that be are saying that the young man drowned, but he was in like knee-high water, so I'm not sure how he actually drowned. He couldn't swim. Keep that in mind. He couldn't swim. That's an important factor in this situation. But here's the deal, y'all. This is what frustrates me, and I say this a lot, but this is some real shit. I wish I lived in a country where I can see things happen to my people, and I can take the people reporting this to me at face value. But unfortunately, living in America, we can't take this shit at face value. And I'm happy that my people are getting to a point where every time something is fed to us, we take a step back and say, whoa. Like, what is actually going on here? Now, it's also important to note that the family hired, or the family wanted an independent autopsy to be done. They had the independent autopsy done, and that autopsy said that the first autopsy was thorough, and that yes, his cause of death looks to be based on him drowning, right? So that looks to be correct. However, we always got to keep our eyes open, family. We've been through too many situations in this country where we believe something at face value just to find out years later that there was some foul play involved. And I personally believed if we had a young white girl or a young white boy who was dead, I think they would be turning Louisiana over trying to find what actually happened to this kid. The Janet Irvin lady, if this was a black woman or a black man who went to pick up a white kid and 2 days later the white kid is found dead, everybody in that black family is getting locked up just so they can see what the fuck happened. That's my opinion. I can be wrong, but that's my opinion. So this is a extremely unfortunate situation. Everybody pray for Kawan's family to find your son in this manner, to be in a situation where you have all these questions that hasn't been answered yet. These are small towns in Louisiana, so I'm sure there's a racist faction to these cities. I didn't look up these two police departments and how they have been conducting themselves in the past. But in my opinion, small towns in any part of the United States where it's 2,500 people, 3,000 people, and all the people are primarily white, you're probably going to have small bits of racism here and there. So in this situation, y'all, we haven't found out yet. So has it been proven yet that there was some foul play? Or has it been proven that this young man was murdered or someone was involved in his murder? No. To be fair, right? Because we don't want to report any false news or anything like that. So to be fair, that hasn't been the case yet. But in my personal opinion, family, I think it's going to come to light that something happened to this little boy. Because it doesn't make sense for you to walk. He's walking into a sugar field. If you are at a friend's house, why are you leaving by yourself to go into a sugar field or by a creek? And people that they've interviewed have said that the part of the creek he was in, people don't even go over there. Like, it ain't even no reason to go over there. So why was he over there? You know what I mean? But I'm happy that this family, and this has been happening a lot lately, when families go through police brutality, when families go through situations like this, now they are quick to say, hey, wait a minute, what happened? Let me do my due diligence. Let me call the news. Let me call different civil rights attorneys and activists in the area, because there are activists in that area that are helping the family. They called a few of them to help them out, try to sort this thing out, right? So family, living in America, being black in America is a hard goddamn job, man. And that's why I bring some of these stories to the family, not to scare anybody or to create an environment where we hate people outside of our community. Hate ain't gonna get us where we need to go, but awareness will. Being aware of what the fuck is going on around you, being aware of what your kids is doing. Like, kids sneak out of the house all the time, right? Like, that's not no new shit. But in my opinion, like, when the father went to that door initially and the door was locked, my personal parenting style, a 15-year-old ain't locking the door. Nah, you gotta be goddamn 19, 20, 21, even older to be in my house and lock the goddamn door. If you don't pay a bill, you ain't locking that goddamn door. You know what I mean? So I'm not coming at the father, but in my opinion, that's a mishap. You know what I mean? And the police in this situation, as soon as she told the police, because at first, y'all, I thought that when a child goes missing, you have to wait 24 hours before you can report them missing. I found some articles that disputes that wholeheartedly. They say you should report it as soon as possible, because just like we've seen with the first 48 hours when it comes to a crime, when it comes to a missing person, that time is critical in actually getting the information you need to see if you can actually find the person, right? So prayers up for this family. Hopefully they can get to the bottom of this situation. Hopefully there wasn't anything nefarious. You know what I mean? I would hate for them to have to deal with the loss of the son, then come to find out somebody white killed them or some old weird shit happened. You know what I mean? But I hope that the family gets closure so they can find out exactly what happened to their son. So prayer to the Charles family, man. I'm so distraught by this story. Like, damn, because I can only imagine having 5 boys myself. I can only imagine going through a situation like this but not being sure about what happened. But I'm happy that the parents and the different members of their family are standing up like, wait a minute, something happened to our family member. This is a baby in our community, y'all. So all of us should care about this shit. All of us should be aware of when stories like this happen, just so we can put a tighter knit on our kids, just so we can even share stuff like this with our kids. Like, hey, don't go nowhere with somebody I don't know. And I don't know if these are things they've discussed with him prior, but don't go nowhere with somebody I don't know. Don't put yourself in a position where you're around people that we don't know, or around people that could possibly do you harm, because we gotta keep it real. If he would have went to his dad and asked, can he go? The dad says yes. Now he understands where he is. Now he can get an idea of where he needs to go to pick him up, right? So that's the first news story for today, man. Hopefully that family gets resolved, but we can never take racism and white supremacy off the table, family. Never. So let's go. Next story, all right? Next story. Damn, man, that hurts my heart to see that happen to that young man like that. All right. Next story I want to talk about. So this is about Biden being president now, supposedly. Him being president now, and how do we hold politicians accountable, right? So this article I found interesting. So the Black Lives Matter co-founder, now keep it in mind, I have been critical of Black Lives Matter. I've been weary of their ultimate goal. When I initially went to their About You page, after somebody hit me to the fact that a lot of the shit on their About You page makes it seem as if they want to deconstruct the normal family nucleus, meaning woman, man, child, and kind of replace that with a more of an LGBTQ agenda. And I'll be honest, when I went to the website, the wording almost made it sound like they want to dismantle the typical family unit to create one where homosexuality and lesbianism is more included in that. And I don't have anything against our lesbian sisters and brothers, or our lesbian sisters, our homosexual brothers. I don't have anything against them. I just don't like when the LGBTQ movement is politicized and put in a situation where you almost can't say anything about them. You can't, if you don't like the fact that 2 men have sex with each other, if you say it, then all of a sudden you're ostracized. If you say it, there's some type of trouble coming your way, whether you're an entertainer or just a regular motherfucker. And I don't like that, right? But I have to say, if an organization like Black Lives Matter is doing anything for our community to move the needle forward, to get rid of some of this systematic injustice that we face, I'll give anybody the benefit of the doubt. You feel me? So, Black Lives Matter co-founder Patrisse Cullors sent a letter to President-elect Joe Biden and Vice President-elect Kamala Harris, congratulating the pair on their electoral victory and calling for the development of a fully resourced agenda that addresses the challenges Black people face. Now, in the letter dated November 7th, Cullors called for a meeting with Biden and Harris to discuss the administration's commitment to Black people. Cullors noted that although Donald Trump's demise is to be celebrated, it does not guarantee that the conditions facing Black people will improve. Now, given the Black community's support of the Biden-Harris ticket, Cullors called for the administration to make addressing the issues faced by Black people a top priority. Without the resounding support of Black people, we would be saddled with a very different electoral outcome. In short, Black people won this election, is what she says. I'm not sure about that completely, but I mean, she could be right. We want something for our vote. Now, about 87% of Black Americans voted for Biden, while 12% voted for Trump. Cullors also noted that the Black community has historically been extremely loyal to the Democratic Party. Cullors said Black Americans are living in crisis and that the devaluation and devastation of lives cannot continue. Okay. Yeah, that's all I want to say about that. So yes, the co-founder of Black Lives Matter, sent a letter to the new president saying basically, create a Black agenda. So this is what I think about that. That's a good idea. Yes, so I'm with y'all. Of course, whoever's in office needs to have a black agenda, which we are of the understanding now that no president before him has actually had a black agenda. So sometimes I'm not too hopeful that a president is actually going to put policies and procedures in place that are going to affect us on a large scale. Sometimes you get small steps, but at this point we need a goddamn large step to get us where we need to go, right? So here's my thing about it, man. Wouldn't you demand a politician give you something before you give him your vote? Because it's my understanding, if you just give them your vote, now they got your vote. Why they got to do anything, right? And people always tell me, and I've been curious, y'all can hit me to this. Tell somebody in the comments, whoever watching this video, give me details on how the fuck do you hold a politician accountable? That shit sounds good. Well, how the fuck do you do it? Like, this is what I would think. Because I even read some articles about, how do you hold a politician accountable? You know what it said? You vote him in. You vote him in. Then you hold his feet to the fire. What the fuck does hold his feet to the fire mean? He got your vote already. He ain't got to do shit, right? So if you vote for a politician and he's not doing what you want him to do, you can call up there, you can march, and you can protest. That ain't going to do shit, family. This is what I think we should do. I don't know how feasible this is as black folks, but I think next presidential election, before that, so we got 4 years, right? Let's say in the next 2 or 3 years, we create, like Black Lives Matter or any other organization that is inclusive with all of us, and we raise money. We raise money, 10 million, 12 million, 15 million, 5 million, however we can come up with. We raise money, and we tell the politician that is about to be president or whoever, hey, we got this money for you, but before we give you this money, this is the things we want done. Now, keep in mind, dealing with politics, all of this shit is risky, right? Because you can give them your money and they still don't do shit for you. But I would say, how about we put ourselves in the best position possible to get something that we actually want? Because to me, because lobbying and all these different things play a role in politics, if I'm a presidential candidate and I'm getting donations from these different groups of people, and these different groups of people are asking me to do particular things, I think I'll be a little more keen to help them out opposed to the group of people who actually gave me nothing but a goddamn vote, right? Because once you get in office, I don't see how we are to hold them accountable. I remember when Obama was becoming president and Mexican Americans came together, like a lot of Mexican and Hispanic rather, entertainers, just regular folk, they came together and raised a particular amount of money and they gave it to Obama. I personally think that had a lot to do with him creating an agenda to help them specifically. When Obama was president, if you would have went to his website, he had an LGBTQ agenda and he had a goddamn immigrant agenda. No black agenda, but he had an agenda for the true group of people who, under my understanding, both gave him money as campaign donations or however you phrase it, but they gave the man money to do their bidding opposed to just giving their goddamn vote. So even though I respect anybody black saying that they want to participate in the political structure in an effort to help us out, keeping in mind that, in my opinion, of course, there has been small gains throughout the time we've been in this country, but there hasn't been any major steps to rectifying the disenfranchisement of black and melanated people in this country. There just hasn't, right? So I'm really weary when trying to come to the table with any presidential candidate, because in my opinion, most of them, if not all of them, hasn't done anything substantial that I can look at today. Because when I look at the neighborhood I grew up in, that shit looks the same. When I look at the schools and the environment I grew up in, that shit looks the same. Now, I know politics is a real convoluted conversation and a lot of moving pieces, but at the end of the day, we haven't really got shit from a president, in my opinion, right? So I respect what the sister's trying to do, but I don't know if this is, I don't know how a president is going to look at this kind of request when, again, they don't have to. So like I said, I have my differences, my small differences with Black Lives Matter and how the organization seems to operate at times. But again, if you're a black, and this is how I feel now, family, if you're a black organization in America and you put your best foot forward to help us out, I'm going to appreciate that because, like I always say, I know a lot of black folks who don't give a shit about our struggle, who don't care anything about their family, their immediate circumstances. So when I see people who say, look, whether I'm gay, whether I'm lesbian, whether I'm whatever, I want black people to succeed. I want black people to get from up under the thumb of white supremacy. I'm fucking with that, regardless of what your organization is based in. Now, that's a code thing right there, right? That's why we have to be on code, family. I may not agree with some of the shit that Black Lives Matter puts forth, but we on the same team. So we gonna go out and battle with each other. Then behind closed doors, I can let you know. Maybe you can answer some of these questions I have about your organization. You feel me? So I appreciate what the sister did, but I don't think the shit gonna work. We should ask for shit before we give him our vote, and that asking should include money or something worth his time because a vote. I don't think that's worth any politics. Say, okay, you guys voted for me. Now I'm gonna give you money. Now because Ice Cube brought his brought his plan for Black America to the Biden team. They said wait till after he gets elected. Now let's see. Now if they call Cube up, bring him in. If Cube can reach out to them and they're accepting of his ideals, we'll see. But don't hold your breath, family. It's much more advantageous if you look at your family and your community yourself. And I always say this. Excuse me. You look at your family and your community yourself, and you say, okay, what could I do to be of service to my community? What could I do to be an advocate for change in my neighborhood? Because relying on politics or relying on politicians to change your immediate situation, I don't know if that's a good idea, right? So for all of you who place your vote but don't do anything else, shame on you. You got to learn that you place your vote. That's one small part of revolution. That's one small part of instituting the necessary changes we need in our community. The other part is you. The other part is you doing what you need to do personally, right? This can be a whole bunch of shit. This can be volunteering for an organization. This can be starting an organization. This can be going to your old community and picking up garbage. This can be going to your old community and being involved in all the local politics in that community. This can be going in your community and talking to the gang members, talking to people who have a negative effect on the community at times. This can be learning about our history in detail and teaching it to people. Man, look, there are several different ways that you can be of service to the black community if you want to, right? But the key is, and the main point of that is if you want to. All right, so let's go. Next story. Now, this next story is interesting to me because when we talk about all of these institutions in America, sometimes I feel like the best way for us to rid ourselves of these institutions, or the best way for us to rid ourselves of the negative effects of these institutions, is to be a part of them, is to find a way to ingratiate ourselves in these organizations with black people who are revolutionaries, black people who stand for truth, black people who speak truth to power. And it's of my belief that if we do this to high levels of policies, or high levels of politics, when we talk about district attorneys, when we talk about judges, when we talk about police officers, on a small scale, I think, okay, if more of us who are righteous became judges and police officers, we can solve this shit, right? Not necessarily the case. So look, in late October, the Columbus, Ohio City Council voted the approval of a $475,000 payment to a Columbus Division of Police officer who claimed there was a culture of discrimination in the department and that he faced retaliation after speaking out against a white sergeant's racism. So hear me when I say this, right? This is a black police officer that was awarded money, $475,000, all because he's doing what I say we should do. He's a part of this organization, and he's seeing shit that ain't right and saying, no. That wasn't cool, right? But look at the backlash he's actually getting just for coming out. Let me continue. Carl Shaw is the brother's name, a 28-year-old veteran of the department, filed the discrimination lawsuit in 2018, alleging that a white sergeant, Eric Moore, had used a racial slur to describe two black officers in 2014 and had threatened to kill them. The suit alleges a pattern, practice, and policy of discriminatory treatment of minority officers. Shaw said he had experienced racism in the department since he first joined in '92. So this is 20 some odd years he's been in this department, and he's saying since he's been there, he's experienced certain types of racism, right? Let me continue. He went on to say that he stood up because it's wrong and it's not about the money. This whole process was stressful. You stay up at night, not sleeping, thinking about this case. This case could have been solved if the chain of command would have allowed the internal investigators to do his job. Now, Shaw demanded that discrimination become a fireable offense in the department and said that he would not have accepted the settlement without the policy change. Now, that's important. That I didn't really peep that before, but that's important. The brother is saying, yeah, give me the money, but I'm not going to accept this money until y'all change some shit. That's some advice, or that's some shit that some of these families who take payouts when your son or your husband get fucking murdered and you take the money for it, and a part of you taking that money is the fact that you got to shut up now. You can talk about it. You can't move the case further any longer. That's some bullshit. So maybe as black folks, when our kid get killed by the cops or when something negative happens at the hands of police, opposed to just taking the 2-3 mil, we say, yeah, I take the money only if X, Y, and Z happens. That's a good move right there, family. You feel me? Now, the department is also facing several other lawsuits filed by current or former black officers who say they face discrimination while working in the division. Now, Eric Cornett, a 23-year-old veteran of the department who has filed a suit against the city of Columbus, claims he is one of the black officers who was threatened by Moore in 2014. Now, Moore is accused of saying, and I quote, "I need to take their monkey asses out back and kill them." He's talking about officers in his precinct. Now, let's keep that in mind. And he was referencing Cornett and another black officer, Sergeant Douglas Williams. Now, Shaw said he filed a complaint with Internal Affairs, which would not investigate the allegations of discrimination. So, as we can see, a lot of these police departments are corrupt from the top to the bottom. We're talking about the sergeants, the captains. We're talking about fucking Internal Affairs, who is supposed to come in and check on shit, who's supposed to come in and alleviate the situation, kind of come in there and be the police for the police. But one of the Internal Affairs person told him, and I quote, "So I guess you're a dead man walking, huh?" When he confronted him about, "Hey, how's the case going? How's everything going?" He told him in a jokingly manner, "I guess you're a dead man walking now, huh?" So this brother Shaw, he had to move. Like, once the internal investigation person told him that, he moved to a different city, got hella cameras on his house. He's saying that some of the officers who he's had problems with are willing to actually kill him, like a little fucking crazy, you know what I mean? So look at this ideal, y'all. At this moment, we are in this country struggling with how the police department treat regular people. They killing us, they fuck us up, they don't get fired, they just get transferred. So I try to remain hopeful when thinking about different ways to defund the police, when thinking about different ways to actually make some of these white motherfuckers look at us like we're goddamn human, right? But stories like this it almost make me feel like it's no hope, family, because if this police department is treating black officers like this, how do you think they're treating the citizens? Think about that. If they're gonna be discriminatory against different members, because we talking this Blue Lives Matter shit where y'all dying for each other, y'all riding for each other, so I'm thinking y'all gonna be real tight with everybody. They saying, nah, we not fucking with niggas regardless. So how do you think they're treating the people that are black they have to come in contact with every day? You know what I mean? So there are some times, family, I feel like in order for America to move past racism, in order for America to move past bigotry, to move past all the discriminating factors we have to deal with, we may have to blow this motherfucker up and start over fresh, right? Because some of these institutions are so ingrained in racism that it may be too far gone for him, family. It may be too far gone for him, because in this situation, he's dealing with a sergeant that's saying basically, I'm gonna take these two monkeys out back and kill them. And at that point, you think, okay, Internal Affairs is going to come in. This is not a part of the police department. They're supposed to come in and be a non-biased entity that can come in and say, okay, I'm not biased to the officer or the sergeant. I'm going to look at this situation from back here and see how I can help out, right? Nah, they be in alignment with each other. And white folks, I got to give it to them, they be on code. Like the on-code clothing, the on-code clothing I was just talking about, and how it's important for us to have a code of conduct on how we treat each other, how we treat each other in front of company, how we talk about each other, how we love each other, right? White folks got a goddamn code of conduct. When some shit pop off, they gonna protect people who look like themselves. That's something we can learn from too. Even though this system has done a number on us when it comes to how we love each other and how they've actually taught us to hate each other through the systematic racism. We have this habit of treating each other like white folks treat us, or like white folks want us to treat each other. You know what I mean? So this is some crazy shit, bro. And I'm still trying to be hopeful and say, can we get black police officers that are revolutionary, that believe in our struggle? But you see what happens when you get a black cop who believes in our struggle, who sees some racist shit and say, look, I don't want to deal with that, right? Instead of them just saying, okay, cool, we'll transfer you to a different department or something. They're like, nah, we gonna kill your black ass. You know what I mean? So this brother had to move to a different city, had to get camp. He moved 650 miles away to South Carolina. He forfeited his pension, although he was just 2 years away from the eligibility for the full amount. He basically says, and I quote, I'm receiving death threats by a young man who has everything he needs to take care of me, right? These cops got all type of military trained pistols, military issued pistols, so that's some fucked up shit, but we need to know about it. And like I said, 2014, the Fed said that white supremacist groups are infiltrating the police departments around the country. Man, I bring that up so much because that's obvious now. When we look at how we're treated, when we look at how we're continually treated by these fucking cops, what's going on with that? Like, what is that about? Because when we look at America, because most black folks I know, even though we go through racism, even though we go through bigotry and all this goddamn the different levels of disenfranchisement, I don't know any black folks that just hate white folks. I don't know any black folks that see somebody white and be like, there goes the colonizer, we got to do something to them. Because in reality, when we talk about seeing a particular person and stereotyping them based on their history with you, right? Historically, what the fuck have we done to white folks besides defend ourselves? Besides try to have our own little shit, right? Y'all say, no, we don't want you with us. We don't want you drinking our waterfalls. We don't want you doing any shit. We start Black Wall Street. Look what happens when we start Black Wall Street. You see what I'm saying? So when we're left to our own devices, we do pretty fucking good, right? Right? And when we're left to our own devices, we don't go out and start killing white folks. There hasn't been any cases in America where white folks is getting lynched or white folks is getting pulled out their car and getting killed. We're not hurting white people on a large scale, right? So when we look at the intrinsic problems that some Caucasians have with us, that's almost like a fucking mental illness if you think about it. Because if you do the history on all of us who are in this country, we shouldn't be your enemy. You know what I mean? So my heart goes out to this brother. Hopefully he can still get, I think I read somewhere that he's still going to get half of his pension, or they're going to do something for him just to make sure he's still taken care of, right? Now, also, it's important to note that that department has faced steady criticism for its treatment of black residents. Now, the division faced scrutiny for fatally shooting a 13-year-old Tyree King and a 23-year-old Henry Green in two separate incidents in 2016, and for responding forcefully to protest over the summer. So the statistics show that 2018, 55% of the department's use of force incidents involve black people, although just 29% of the Columbus community is black. So we got a long way to go in this country, family, when we talk about equality, when we talk about getting under the thumb of a lot of these racist factions. But this is why this is important. This is why it's important that I come to my people. We talk about different things that are going on, and sometimes I feel like I'm being mundane. I feel like I'm just repeating myself with some of these stories or some of these incidents. But so what, family? I'm going to keep talking about this shit until it changes. If it don't change in my lifetime, I'm going to keep talking about it until I'm out of here. You feel me? So that was it for all of the news stories. Let's get it going, man. Now, for the topic of the day, right? The topic of the day, I named the show The Deadly Consequences of Hip Hop Music. And this is why I say this, right? Over the past 2 weeks, past 2.5, 3 weeks, we've lost two um, extremely popular young rappers, right? First, it was King Von, a rapper out of Chicago. If if my audience isn't familiar with the young guy, you can go to Google and hear his music. But he's a young Chicago drill artist who has street ties, right? He had a, this is to my understanding, he had a problem with another rapper, like a lot of these young men do, either a problem with another rapper or just a problem with different people in their city. He got into a fight at a hookah lounge in Atlanta. I think he was getting the best of the young man he was fighting. Somebody pulled out a gun, shot him. I think two other people were shot. Two other men were killed. There's a third one in critical condition. There were other people that was wounded as well. And that was on the 6th of November. And then a few days later, on the 11th of November, a brother by the name of Mo3, real name Melvin Noble. And let me be clear. King Von's real name is Devon Daquan Bennett, just to give the brother the respect he deserves, right? And after that, on the 11th of this month, rapper Mo3, real name Melvin Noble, was killed on a freeway. Supposedly, he was leaving a chick's house. Soon as he left the chick's house, he realized somebody was following him. He tried to get on the freeway. I don't know if it was a traffic jam or if he ran into something while on the freeway running away from the dude that was chasing him. He tried to get out of his car and run. Unfortunately, they followed him on foot, shot him in the back of his head, and killed the brother, right? So, here is why I wanted to talk about this today, right? Because when we look at how we respond to things as a community, right? Because I'm a big hip hop fan, have always been a hip hop fan, may always be a hip hop fan, right? But sometimes we need to put everything on the table so we can figure out the best way to actually help our community, right? Because when we look at gangs in America, when we look at, because a lot of these young men are a part of cliques or gangs or a group of young men who are willing to do whatever they need to do for money, who are willing to defend their turf, who are willing to do a lot of things based on ego and dominance, right? So when we look at this as a community, because of course, when I look at gang violence, when I look at two young black men killing each other, right? I'm not going to not include the systematic indifferences that have put us in this position. Being placed in ghettos, being in situations where the system has attacked our family nucleus, where there isn't men in the home. Now, some may say there isn't men in black homes because we shiftless and we ain't about shit and we just don't love our kids. And granted, there are men who just ain't shit, who just don't care about their kids, who just ain't there for personal reasons or them not being a good man, whatever, right? But a lot of the times, family, we're all dealing with trauma based on what we've had to deal with in this system, and that's not and that's not any different for a black father. So in the 60s, when we did have homes or was attempting to, the welfare system and different things like this was implemented that basically said you can't have a man in the home. So this put us in a situation where the single mothers were striving to be single mothers almost, because they would come to the house, check to see if there's shoes under the bed. They was coming to the house to check and make sure there were men there, right? And then we have the war on drugs that a lot of these young men, Mo3 I think was 28, King Von is 26. Again, I'm not sure about the family dynamic of these young brothers, like if they grew up in the home with their fathers, but I'm gonna go out on a limb and say I'm sure they didn't. When we look at the war on drugs and how that affected us, a lot of our fathers, our would-be fathers, our would-be warriors in our community are in jail right now, based on some trumped up crack cocaine charges where they're getting sentenced 10 times the amount for a white boy who had cocaine. So at this point, we're all aware of the 94 crime bill. We were targeted. We have been targeted throughout our time in this country. And I think some of the shit we're witnessing is the end result of that. It's the end result of us being targeted. It's the end result of our young men not having the proper guidance and resources, right? So when I look at the gang violence, when I look at young men shooting each other, and like I said before, if you're an adult who's ever shot a gun before, that's an extremely violent act. To pull a pistol on somebody, if you ever been to the shooting range, if you ever shot a pistol just for fun or some shit, you got a Glock or something a little bigger, that shit is violent as hell. So the fact that some of these young men are actually using firearms to hurt each other without even thinking about it, we got some work to do in our community, right? So like I said, there is a systematic side to this, so we can't let the system off the hook. But at the end of the day, these people ain't coming to save us, family. So we got to look at ourselves and determine what's the best way to go about fixing some of these problems, right? So some of the things I would say, and hear me out, when we look at hip hop music and the role it plays in our community, the content a lot of these guys talk about, we need to do a better job as adults. All of us that are a little bit older, we need to figure out a way to reach some of these young men. We need to figure out a way, if we have children who are young, who enjoy hip hop music, we need to be able to break down to them some of the degradation that's in the music. We need to break down to them talking about guns nonchalantly, talking about pimping women, talking about fucking somebody up when you see them. Some of that shit sound good over a beat, but in reality, none of this is going to help our culture move forward. That's the reality of it. Now, it's a tightrope you have to walk, because if you are not going to give these young men resources, you can't tell them to stop doing what they're doing, right? I don't go to a young person who I know sells drugs or who I know is operating on the other side of the law and reprimand him, because I understand his family didn't have resources. I understand there could have possibly not been a father there. I understand all the trauma we deal with in our communities, right? So ultimately, you want him to move away from that, right? Ultimately, you want him to move away from that into something more constructive, something more conducive to living to your old fucking man. But approaching these kids with vigor or anger ain't gonna get the job done. We need to let them understand, figure out a way to let them understand, look, man, I understand that you have a pops there. I understand how important you think money is, but your life and your legacy is worth way more than money. That's why I'm such a big proponent of history. I'm of the understanding that if you get a clear understanding of where we came from, a clear understanding of what's been done to us in this country, you're more inclined to not want to participate in certain shit, right? But as a black family, like we've already talked about the system and how they play a role in how we conduct ourselves. Historically, they've always have, but we can begin to heal ourselves. We can begin to do some of this shit ourselves, family. And like I always say, and I'm gonna stick to this starts with how we start our family. I'm not sure if some of these young men killing each other came from two-parent solid households where it's a man and a woman in the house doing what they got to do to pay the bills and loving the kids, a nice structured environment with not a lot of trauma in it. I'm sure if you put a lot of these young men in that situation, they wouldn't only fare better, but they would probably thrive. Like, a lot of these young men are extremely smart, not just book smart, they're street smart. They have the ability to put together words like a normal person wouldn't even know how to. You see what I'm saying? But we need to channel that energy into something that's more productive. We need to channel that energy into something that's more beneficial for all of us. So when I see young kids, or when I see people enjoying hip hop, certain elements of hip hop that speak to the negative aspects of society, we got to be careful, y'all. If you got young kids who listen to hip hop and you just so happen to live in an environment that fosters a lot of the behavior that's in the music, I'm not so sure you should just let your kids listen to the music freely. You should find out why they like who they like and begin to give them lessons on these people and how, even though, because if a young hip hop artist is rapping and you telling your story, and it's truthful, we really can't say nothing about that. If you're telling your experiences as a young man, and some of it was violent, or some of it was rooted in certain levels of dysfunction, we can't necessarily come at him because he's just telling his story. Now, it becomes a slippery slope when it goes from telling your story to actually glorifying the bullshit. That's what I don't like. Any young rappers, any rappers at all, at this point, being 40 years old, I don't want to hear you glorify selling drugs. I don't want to hear you glorify pimping women. I don't want to hear the glorification of any of this shit because I know ultimately it's not going to help our community. Now, if you're telling me a story about how you had to do certain things to get to where you are, I'm going to accept that. Because we all got a goddamn story, right? But glorifying this shit, making it seem to kids that money and jewelry and tattoos is the only way to live. I gotta push back on that, family. We need more lawyers. We need more doctors. We need more fucking veterinarians. We need more police officers. Like I was saying, we need more people who are just involved in the regular throes of society, not necessarily on no street shit. Because we have to be honest. Not only do our community glorify street shit, but to a degree we appreciate it. And a part of that ain't even black people. That's just America appreciates violence. America is intrigued by violence and organized crime and gangster shit. We need to be honest. There ain't no black shit. That's all of us are intrigued by this type of behavior or this type of mindset. But we need to understand that in our community, young men dying over money, over women, over ego, over problems you have with somebody, none of that shit is worth dying over. I don't give a fuck what nobody say. None of that shit is worth dying over. And after I talk to young dudes, I get an understanding that they don't think like older people think, man. To them, they damn near in a war zone. You know what I mean? They're not looking 15, 20 years ahead. They thinking about tomorrow. They trying to survive for tomorrow. They looking at the indifferences that they face in their community because a lot of these young dudes, we say, hey, get out of a gang while you in the street. But like I said, a lot of these young dudes didn't have a father, didn't have nobody at home. So the gang member, the older dude in the hood who bought them clothes, who gave them food, that becomes your big brother almost. You become beholden to him to a degree, to the point where you're going to do anything to help him out, right? Now, if something happens to this guy, or another one of your friends that you've been hanging with, that y'all been giving each other money, giving each other food when your mama wasn't shit or your daddy wasn't shit, if something happens to this dude, you're going to feel like it's your job to retaliate. Not based on no stupid shit, but based on the love you got for him. Based on what he's done for you. Based on feeling like you owe him something because how much he's helped you. Those are just natural emotions, family. And some of us need to realize if we don't like that shit, we need to start being better parents. If we don't like that shit, we need to do our job to make sure we're in our kids' lives. We need to tell our young children, we need to be an example for our young children of how they need to start their families, right? Because again, we can blame the system, not blame, but the system has played a part in our dysfunction, has played a part in the trauma that we face, the trauma that we think on a day-to-day basis. But at the end of the day, family, we can do something to circumvent some of this shit by starting with how we raise our families, by starting with how we approach hip hop. Because again, I'm 40 now. I don't think I'm ever going to stop listening to hip hop. But am I listening to young men who blatantly just glorify negative shit? Nah. You're going to have to be more artistic. If you're very artistic and creative, I'll listen to whatever you put out. It just has to be put in a particular manner. You feel me? But it's up to us. It's up to us to help our children with that. Because seeing these young men die over money, seeing these young men die over differences that they have, this shit gotta stop, man. And I'm not one to hit you with the black on black crime shit because I know crime is proximity based. White folks kill each other at a higher rate than we do, so I'm not going there. But what are we responsible for? Are we to say shit's going bad in our neighborhood, the community's not doing what we wanted to do? Are we to blame all of it on white folks? Is there nothing we can do as a community to try to get rid of some of this shit? You see what I'm saying? And like I said, the system played a large part in our dysfunction, but there are things we can do. Seeing the brother die on camera, seeing King Von die on camera, that hurt my heart. That's my young brother, man. And I see a lot of people, when it's Trump and Biden shit was cracking, everybody's on my timeline talking about it. When it's Trump and Biden shit is cracking. When a cop kills somebody, everybody is on my timeline talking about it, creating shirts, RIP hashtags, going to march. How are we to respond? Again, not the whole black on black crime shit that political pundits use to weaponize us against each other. I'm not talking about that. But how do we respond when a young black man kills another young black man in our community? How are we to respond with that? Because I'll be honest, I don't see a lot of outrage when that shit happens. It almost feels like how the white folks feel about it. Like it's just another nigga killing each other. Like we see it so much, we're almost desensitized to it. And over like the past 3 years, it's been what, 15 rappers got killed or died? You know what I mean? I have a 13-year-old son who enjoys hip hop. Enjoys hip hop. He's a private school kid, but he enjoys hip hop. And he mentions these people dying to me he's extremely too nonchalant about the death of a person, right? So I have to stop him and say, man, no. Let's talk about it. How do you feel about it? How do you feel about young men conducting themselves this way? Is this something you think you would do? Like, we need to be honest with our young people. Death and destruction shouldn't be commonplace. That shouldn't be commonplace. Some of us is so fucked up in the head, man. We all need some type of shrink or psychologist to kind of talk us through some of this shit that we have to deal with. You know what I mean? So it hurts my heart to see these young men going out this way. But as a community, y'all, there's something we can do about it. There's something yes, we're going to continue to hold politicians accountable or attempt to. We're going to continue to try to, don't hold them accountable. I don't like that term. We're going to continue to try to operate within the playing field of politics and see who can help us, see who's genuine, right? We should never give up on that process because we're in America. But at the end of the day, sometimes we just need to turn to the brother next to us and say, look, man, I got you. I'm going to help out. I'm going to go in the community and make sure shit is safe. I'm going to do the best job I can to raise my kids so they see the value in a two-parent home, so they see the value in life, so they see the value in college, so they see the value in working hard. You know what I mean? Because we have to hold ourselves accountable for some of this shit. We be on some bullshit sometime, y'all. I say we because I'm with y'all. I'm not separate from my people. We together. And we be on some bullshit sometime. How we talk to each other, how we communicate with each other, what we value. Right? We got a lot of our young men just valuing money. Not respect, no principles, no morals, just money. And however they got to get it, they going to get it. You see what I'm saying? But it's up to us, the adults in the community, to figure out a way to change that mentality a little bit. Yes, you should try to be as successful as you possibly can. But dying over money, doing whatever you can to get money, putting yourself on the other side of the law where we know the prison industrial complex is a real thing, and your ass can end up getting a book thrown at you simply because you black. You see what I'm saying? So we have to operate a little bit differently, y'all, to make sure this shit don't continue to happen, because I'm not just going to completely put it on white folks. Yes, they set up the playing field for where we are now. But what are we going to do about it, family? What are we going to do about it? We gonna normalize this shit. So when somebody died, we say, oh, he died, RIP, and go over all the details, then go right back to listening to some shit that's operating in that same frequency. You know what I mean? I'm not telling nobody what to listen to as far as hip hop is concerned, but let's begin to be more critical, family. Let's begin to be more critical. Young niggas walking around with their pants to their goddamn knees. I mean, come on, man. What are we talking about? We need to close the goddamn door, all the white folks out, and we need to be critical of each other. You see what I'm saying? We need to create a code of conduct with each other of how we going. Because look, it upsets me sometimes that a young man will run a nigga down on the freeway to kill him, but George Zimmerman is still alive right now, living in his hometown. George Zimmerman is still, and I'm mentioning one name, but there's several white cops who've killed somebody that looked like us, and they fucking ass is out right now, roaming the streets. George Zimmerman is selling his goddamn gun he killed Trayvon with for $250,000. His ass should be dead on some real shit. So if we talking some real nigga shit, who we real niggas to? Other niggas? That's the easy part. That's the easy part. They gonna let you kill yourself? But when are we going to come together? Because some of these young men who are willing to pull a gun and kill somebody, this, whether y'all like it or not, this could be considered our warrior class. Some of you niggas with suits ain't going to bust a grape in a food fight. Let's keep it real. Let's keep it real. These young men, however, a lot of these young men got heart of steel. They willing to run through a goddamn brick wall to prove their point. You see what I'm saying? So we can use these young men in our fight for equality. You see what I'm saying? If we can figure out a way to get these young men on board to help us fight for equality and not fight each other, all this shit will change overnight. And you don't think this system know that? You don't think this system know that? You see? Because the gangs in America wasn't created to fight each other. The gangs in America was created to fight white supremacy. They created gangs because they was tired of getting fucked up by white folks. But look where we're at 100 years later. Look where we're at 75 years later. The same gangs that were created to protect the community, in some cases, is fucking the community up. And I'm going to just be honest. You see what I'm saying? In my city, in Sacramento, we have rival rappers who recently reignited some shit that can go the other way. You know what I mean? And like I said, being a lover of hip hop, sometimes I'm intrigued with the storyline of some of these situations. But at the end of the day, I wish it wasn't happening. At the end of the day, nothing good is gonna come of gun violence and harming somebody else black. Nothing good is gonna come of that. You know what I mean? And that's the bottom line, y'all. You feel me? So this has been another episode, man, of the Melanated Convo podcast. I want to thank everybody who tuned into the show. I appreciate everybody who sent me messages, everybody who sent me DMs, everybody who goes to the website, the consistent followers that I have. I really do appreciate it. Please go to melanatedfathers.com. Check out some of the content. Go to Melanated Fathers TV on YouTube. Subscribe to the YouTube channel. We're going to keep having these conversations, family, because I love y'all. We need to get to the point where we love each other, regardless of you in the gang, regardless if you a police officer, regardless if you a part of an organization that I don't fuck with as much. We going to love each other. And any small problems we got, we fix that shit in the back room. But in front of company, in front of these white folks, in front of people that's not from our community, we need to stick together. We need to stick together. If we don't like a lot of the shit we're seeing, we need to realize that we have the power to change some of this shit in our community. Nobody else involved. We got the money. We got the muscle, obviously. You see? So let's keep striving to be better as a community, family. And I'm going to keep rocking with y'all. I'm going to keep, yeah, bro. Chuck, you right, man. You right. It's egos involved. And think about that. You give because men, Chuck, look, men have egos as it is. But you give an ego to a young man who's bereft of self. He don't know who the fuck he is. He don't know where the fuck he come from. Check it out, Chuck. My last name, Anderson, family. We in this country, we stolen fucking Africans. We don't even have a link to who we really are. Anderson, Johnson, Smith, Coleman, these is fucking slave owners, right? So we, from a mental space, we haven't even figured out yet where we come from. Mexican people come here, immigrants come here, and they have it tough at times, but at least they know where they came from. At least they know they can go back to that motherfucker if they need to. You see what I'm saying? That's why history is so important to me, family, so we can get a clear understanding of what we've meant to this country, a clear understanding of who we are, the original fucking man and woman. Think about that. Think about that. Think about if Egyptians from antiquity can see us now. What do you think they would be saying? If they can see us now, if they can see how we treat each other now. You see what I'm saying? This shit's a fucking disgrace. And it's a system that has played a role in this, but as black folks, we have a say, and it starts with all of us loving each other. It starts with all of us rejecting toxic behavior. Rejecting that shit. And the first place you can start rejecting toxic behavior, the first place you can start making the change necessary to implode on this system is in your goddamn house. From your house to your community, to your city, to your state, to your country. See? But you start with your fucking house. And like I was saying, Chuck, some of these young dudes, I would be hard pressed to believe that they come from stable environments where they needed for nothing. There was no struggling. There was no big amounts of trauma. They needed what they got what they needed. They got what they wanted. If you put a kid in this situation with a strong male presence, it's highly unlikely he's going to feel the need to hurt anybody. You know what I mean? Yes, we have no friends, and some of these people will make us feel Trump, Biden, because somebody was telling me We do all this fighting about Trump and Biden. I'm like, man, look, do we understand that before the debate, they're friends? Before the debate, they asking about each other's wives. They setting some shit up so they can kick it. Once it's lights, camera, action, then they get to all this divisive shit. They got us fighting about Trump and Biden. These is two old white racist men. What the fuck is the difference? There's no difference. They're the same. Now, I wasn't on this thing because I didn't vote for Biden, by the way. I wasn't on this thing where we got to get Trump out, got to get Trump out, got to get Trump out. Honestly, why? Biden is going to be racist too. He's just going to be a covert racist. He's going to smile with you and go to the back room and do the devious shit Trump was doing. Trump just couldn't control his mouth. Trump wasn't a career politician, so he wasn't as polished. He used Twitter like a nigga would. You see what I'm saying? But for me, a part of that, Chuck, was refreshing. It was refreshing, okay, because if there's going to be racism in this country, the biggest thing about it to me, I want to know who the racists are. Don't fucking lie to me. Don't act like we cool. Nah, if it ain't cool, say that shit so I can know who the fuck to stay away from. Say that shit so I can know who to get when this shit go down. You see what I'm saying? So look, family, this has been another episode of the Melanated Convo podcast. I appreciate everybody checking the show out. Keep in mind, family, you can find the show at my website, melanatedfathers.com. You can find the show on Melanated Fathers TV along with other content about history. You can find the show on Google Podcasts. You can find the show on Apple Podcasts. You can find the show on Anchor FM. Those are all the places you can find the show. This has been another great episode of the Melanated Convo podcast. Man, I love y'all. I'm out.